At least we know now that makes a sound.
Yeah.
But that's why I was trying to stop it before.
No, we don't get carried away talking. Yeah, so with Iwobi, I know he's not a player that you fancy very much, and you've always questioned his end product at the end of the day, and I totally appreciate that. He is a player who's actually got some genuine pace, and I felt like you're playing against a City team that are really quick in the wide areas. You know, the fullbacks we mentioned. You need to match that. You need to push them back. You can't play static midfielders against, you know, them. It just doesn't make sense. Even if you've got to sacrifice, God forbid, Aubameyang play on the wing. But at least.
But again, that's my point. If Lacazette play up top, Aubameyang's in that free, and he with a bit more of a wide position, he's got some pace. So when we don't have the ball, he actually can close down quickly, which he was doing. But he shouldn't. And what was annoying was that almost like when even Lacazette came on, it was like Lacazette's playing almost behind him, and it's like the wrong way round. It's like no, Lacazette should be up top. And Aubameyang should be playing behind him. So even that annoyed me, because I was like, Lacazette came on, and I thought, oh, straight swap, Lacazette's going to go up top, and Aubameyang's going to play drop off. And even the pundit said that, oh, that's what's going to happen, because that's what should happen. It didn't look like it happened half the time, because Lacazette was coming from deep, and Aubameyang was up top.
The thing is, I think they're both really experienced strikers, and I think it's not that much of a big deal, because they'll sort it out between them. They've both got good goal-scoring abilities, but I understand what you mean about Aubameyang dropping deeper, but maybe, you know,
like
that's something that Lacazette doesn't mind doing, because I'm sure Lacazette would voice his opinion, but I'm sure they've worked it out between them, you know, similar age group and such. But, you know, the pace issue troubled me immediately, and like you, I'm like, Mkhitaryan, Ramsey, Ozil, all lacking confidence, especially Ozil.
Well, even Iwobi, like you said, I don't like Iwobi, but if Iwobi was in that three, for me, Mkhitaryan had to be dropped. That's who I would have dropped.
Yeah.
But if Iwobi was in that three with Ramsey and Ozil, Iwobi would have had a more of like, you need to work.
Yes.
You're going to do some legs for me and Ramsey, Ramsey and Ozil. You've got to do a bit of legs for us because you've got the fucking you've got the engine.
Yeah.
Right. So to me, that would have made sense because we're going to spend a long time. Ironically, we actually had quite a lot of possession. You know, typically City are dominating games, but the possession was quite even in the end. But we knew there'll be long periods of not having the ball, and we need players who've got the energy, the speed from 0 to 10 yards.
Yeah.
They've got the pace that can close down, put them under pressure, and that would have been perfect maybe for Iwobi. So. Again, it didn't make sense. It was like the lineup questionable, like the tactics questionable, because that midfield was going to get overrun.
Yeah.
But do you know what the worst thing about it was that I about the whole thing, I don't know if this was worse than everything. Well, not just the tactics, not just the lineup. So forget the lineup, forget the tactics. Like we question that. I was questioning the attitude of players.
Yeah.
You know, and it started with Ozil. You know, Ozil. I mean, I know he's had the whole German FA thing and he's left the international team, but I don't really care about that. You know, now he's playing for Arsenal, he's wearing the Arsenal shirt, and they pay you big money. And he looks like, again, like he's a bit pissed off. I don't know what, probably because of that. But every few months, it's like he throws his toys out his pram. And given there's a new manager, it looks like he's sort of, I don't know whether he's not happy with the new manager, but he definitely walked around the pitch like, I don't really care. Right? He had a sort of lackluster, like, I don't care kind of attitude. And given it is a new manager, that's quite surprising because normally when you get a new manager, the players know they're playing for their position. But this goes back to what the problem we had at Arsenal was that all these players like Ozil, they're not playing for their position because they've got it.
Yeah, that's
you know, and this is the problem we've got. You know, but his attitude was poor. Which
if you contrast Liverpool, just saying, you've got this competition for places in the midfield alone. Like do you know what I mean? You've got players being pushed. Like, this guy's come in, we better play good. And I think, obviously, you've had a limited funding to bring in the players, and it's very short term. But that needs to happen at Arsenal very quickly, because you can just see that players like Mkhitaryan, Ozil, and Ramsey, they're not... Who's taking their places? Yeah. They're good every week.
But then, if you think, right, so we had a limited budget, everyone knows that, right? But the problem we had last year, it wasn't our offence. The problem we didn't have a problem creating chances. We even didn't, I would say, have a problem in terms of necessarily most of the time, not all the time, but a lot of the time in terms of how we played when we had the ball. What we definitely had a problem with last year is, and we've had this problem that's not been solved, is defensively, and I don't mean the back four. Defense, it's like, you know, Neville was saying yesterday about he didn't see it as the back four problem. He saw it as a midfield problem last season. Okay. Now I don't necessarily agree with that, but my view is that it's a defensive problem for a team, not just for the back four, the back five. It's everybody. So it's when we don't have the ball, that's a problem for Arsenal, right? In terms of how they defend as a team. And that starts from the striker to the midfield down to the defender. So it's a team problem.
Yeah.
But on top of the team problem, right? He hasn't got the right, in my view. Wenger didn't have the right personnel to defensively be good. Didn't have good enough players that could do that. So they didn't have the defensive quality. So the defenders aren't actually good enough defenders. Some of them, and the midfielders aren't good enough defenders either. Does that make sense?
Yeah, instinctively, so defense.
Yeah, so they don't have that enough quality. So you think of Ozil, think of Ramsey, think of Sharon. What are their defensive qualities?
Yeah.
Right. So we
they
don't
just
have
that scrapping mentality, do they?
No.
They're not scrappers.
So if I was the manager, limited budget, I know that I've got to sort that out. That's the heart of the problem because we've got a bit of flair, we've got some creativity. You know, I'm not going to go and buy a striker or go and buy a creative player.
Forwards,
I need to create some. I'm going to get some players in that defensively are sound, right? Between a combination of defence and midfield. Now we knew we needed one midfielder, which was a centre midfielder, to be that sort of Kante, you know, or
in that mould,
in that role.
Yeah.
And he spent a lot of money, and he spent a big part of his budget on this player, Torreira, bench. You know, either he's not ready to play because he's not adapted yet and he's not ready. Why would you go and buy a player in a role that you need someone now?
Yeah.
Like you could have gone.
First game, get in.
You could have gone and bought. You know, I'm not saying go and buy Mark Noble, but I'm saying you needed someone that could play now.
Yes.
Yeah, in straight away.
Yeah.
No. They need because
6 weeks, 6 games, 10 games.
But I question that signing because he's a young player, right? I know he's not 19, but he's a young man generally.
From the French second division again. Zoe,
Torreira.
Oh, Torreira. Sorry.
No, the other guy. You know, he had a great game, but Torreira's like a relatively young player. To me, untested, unproven.
Italian League.
People saying he played 5 games.
He played in the World Cup. He played every game for
Uruguay.
Uruguay.
He played 5 games for Uruguay, but
I've
seen world beaters at the World Cup. Comes to the Premier League and rubbish.
But let's judge him in an Arsenal shirt.
No. But the point I'm making is that why go and get a player? You need someone who you know you can put your house on. You can't put your house on that player.
Fair enough.
To the point, he's not even starting. So we defensively need. So if we look at who we've bought in out of that 70 million, we've got someone we're not even the manager's not sure about because he was starting him. Why do you think Keita was playing for Liverpool? Was the manager unsure?
No, he was certain.
Right, and I think he played him to let all the others know as well. He's in to get in the first team. You don't need to be up your game because I don't know if you know, like the Hendersons and everyone else. It's like, no, we've got a player, and the manager played that right. I've bought a player to get into the first 11. I'm playing him on day one, so it sends out a message because if everyone ain't on it in training, he's playing.
Yeah.
Right, but it's a good way of managing. It's a good strategy for the manager. Arsenal, we buy the player. It's a bench, right? What does that even if he played him, and it showed that made a message to Xhaka because we've got a defensive midfielder. So you've only bought a defensive midfielder because Xhaka's not good enough. Opening game of the season, Xhaka's playing. Yeah. How it don't make sense.
Yeah. I mean that for me is one of the single most frustrating things about yesterday's game. That again, the persistence with Xhaka is just beyond me because he's proven game after game that he doesn't have the defensive qualities that you need, and just he's just not good enough.
He's not good enough.
I mean, basically, he's just not good enough. I mean, there's so many areas of his game where he, yards short of pace. Doesn't quite have the.
He's always a yard off.
He's always a yard off.
He's always a yard off the pace that he needs to be because he probably don't read it as well as he could. Like his booking yesterday, he was doing that when he first came. And everyone said, "Oh yeah, he's a bit of a hot-headed." It's like in the middle of the park, almost on the throwing line, on the halfway line. He just tripped someone up, got a booking. The guy was going nowhere.
Yeah,
it was just like another booking. So it's the first game of the season. You're playing Man City. It's already going to be hard enough. And you get to give a booking away, not by fouling someone because you had to take one for the team. Yeah. No, you just trip someone on the halfway line who's going nowhere for nothing.
Just for trip's sake.
It just is like, and he's still doing this. He's been here long enough to not be making those kind of mistakes. And I just think that's a player who doesn't have the mental capacity or the quality physically to be in Arsenal. But so he's playing. So Torreira's on the bench, and then fair play to him. He bought the Greece centre half. He played him, which was the right thing to do.
I thought he had a good game.
Yeah, and actually played quite well. I could see
despite
that
he was getting a lot of pelters from some people saying his lack of pace and that, but actually
he read the game quite well. Yeah,
he didn't really put a foot wrong.
No, he didn't actually. You're right. He was a bit of a steady Eddie. Yeah, he was a bit of considering it was his first game.
Yeah, he was good.
Surrounded by, let's be honest, clueless fucking people. Yeah. Which he was. He actually stood out.
Let's look at it in layman's. They had the young French fella. What's his name again?
Oh, I can't pronounce it.
Gendazuri?
Yeah. But he had a great game.
Right.
He was a quality player.
This lad, second division French player.
Yeah.
No disrespect to the second division in France, but we're talking about the Premier League here. Yeah. So let's say he did have a really good game, considering where he's come from, and I thought he done very well. Like he
kind of got better.
He looked like he was really in his moment,
right?
And that's so good to see. And he's looking after these guys behind him, and he's a young upstart. So it's like, let's not make no bones about it. Like what Arsenal are depending on at the moment. That's why it's like, why didn't they bring in this Torreira geezer? Well, why didn't he start? Because you need players who are going to. He's played 5 World Cup games, a lot more experience. Yeah. And I know you might deride what he done in the World Cup somewhat for Uruguay, but No,
but 5 games of football in the World Cup don't make you a better player.
But so that's also, my point. I hear that, but it's also the experience that he got, and he's played in the Italian league. The Italian league is higher level than the young lad from France. Let's say that much.
No, he is, but it's not transferable. This is my point. I see it all the time. Every World Cup, players get transferred at the end of the World Cup. We've seen it. We've seen great players come to it. Remember Diego Forlan and I mean but I'm just saying we've seen so many good players that have actually come with big reputation players actually on the back of World Cups who aren't just young. They're actually established, well-established players. Can't play in the Premier League, struggle, right? But so to me, it doesn't really matter. But the point is, which I didn't make my point about the attitude of players, was that, and I'm glad you brought up the young French guy, because when there's a new manager, I am expecting to see that there's this kind of like desire and there's this kind of like extra kind of level of passion that they might show because they want to prove to the manager.
Prove to the fans.
We've just proved to the new manager that I'm your guy. Yeah, I'm your guy. Now I'm the guy. Now we've got a French, like you said, a French guy come from second division. He's 19. I'm not being funny. He had more passion in his performance than half of that side. Yeah. And it was embarrassing that we're watching this 19-year-old. I don't care how he actually played out of his skin, by the way. Yeah. In my opinion, against the City side, he's playing City. It doesn't matter who. It wasn't their best 11 in my view, and it was a second-gear performance for City, but. He's still playing City. It's his debut at home for Arsenal. He's a young lad. He's come from the French second division, and he played out of his skin. And at times, I just funny enough when I was watching the game, I was thinking, if anyone scores, I hope he does. Yeah. Because not because he got into the position of scoring, but just because if anyone deserved it, it was him.
He deserves it.
Just because of his desire. Yeah, and that was an attitude. His desire his desire to win the ball, his determination was an attitude. And he's been here 5 minutes. Yeah. But I'm expecting to see that from others. Yes. And I didn't see it. It looked like a team that's defeated.
Yeah.
The players were walking around
it really did.
But even the manager, I question his attitude. When I was watching him on the sideline, I don't know if you saw some of his body language, but even he seemed defeated. This is game
like a bit
one.
Resigned.
This is game one, and even he seems defeated. And I'm just thinking, oh my God, if you're portraying this in public, and you're probably trying to not portray everything here because they know the eyes and cameras are on. Yeah. I'm wondering I'm questioning, are these players buying into you? I'm questioning, are the players getting you? Are they buying into who you are? And from what I saw, they're not. And I know that takes time, but I don't think, the fact that I didn't see that, and the fact that he hasn't addressed, I'm sorry, like Neville, I keep bringing up Neville because Neville made some good points and he made some points I completely disagree with. Gary Neville said that, it takes time. Players have got 20 years of Wenger's, philosophy or way of playing, and you can't just undo that. And I disagree. Right, I'm going to tell you why I disagree, because these players, some of these players, these aren't all young players, right? Some of these players they've played for different clubs, they play for different managers, they play for their national team, and they all adapt to those different environments, and they all have
different demands.
Right? So I know for a fact if I took a coaching session and I got a group of players and they'd never seen me before and they didn't know, it didn't matter how the team played, and let's say they were a bit of a long ball team, you could almost guarantee that you could get them playing football on the ground, a short passing game within a session.
Sure.
Right? So I'm not saying it's as easy as that, but the point I'm making is that to try and say that these players can't do basics, basic defending, like protect the goal. Like when Sterling scored, the idea is you play narrow, right? But when you get to the last 25 yards, when you're playing a sort of compact game, you always have to protect the goal. So the goal is the danger. So anything in front of the goal, 25 yards out, narrow, from the goal out, is the danger zone. If anyone comes to the danger zone, you've got to be on them. There's no space in the danger zone. You don't let anyone with any space in there. We'll concede the space out wide, but as soon as they cross into the danger zone, there's nothing. We're all over it like a rash. How did he walk in from the into the danger zone? No one even closes the ball. It's basic. It's Sunday League. It's Sunday League. It's Sunday League.
Having said that, though, we're talking about Mustafi here, who, to be fair, Mustafi has been poor for the last year, and I just think...
Well, Xhaka didn't close him down. Xhaka didn't come out from the midfield. Xhaka was almost standing next to the centre half, right? Almost cuddling him.
We spoke lots about Xhaka.
Almost cuddling him, but somewhat... And it should have been the centre midfield, if I'm honest.
But as a centre half, aren't you throwing the midfielder out? And you go and get out to him.
You are. But I think sometimes it's like about taking responsibility,
Absolutely.
And I just think that... the players have to know that, that's you're always protecting the goal. And the reason why you have this little danger zone and it's 25 yards out, and it's square, it's the 18-yard line out, from the goal out, and anything in that area, it's like you press like you're possessed, right? Because any half yard, someone can shoot. And half a yard, they can stick it in the top corner.
Yeah.
Because all the players you're playing against have got that kind of quality.
What is half a yard?
Yeah. Half a yard in the danger zone, they stuff it home, keeper got no chance. Right? So you play that way, nice and compact, but anyone comes in the danger zone, you suffocate them. Like even 2-3 man just jump on him.
Right.
Yeah, even if they take him out. Someone might you see often teams playing like that, and then they take them out and they foul them. Right? Because they've got to break it up. They can't let him carry on. So you either break up...
It's that attitude though, isn't it? Going back to attitude, like, you will not score an easy goal past us. You're going to need to do something incredibly great to score. And the way that Sterling scored that goal was a complete opposite of that mentality. It was almost like, oh, go on then. It was just too easy.
If they were like all young kids, and it was like some development team in a pre-season friendly, I said it. I was watching it on my own, and I was saying if that was any of my teams that did that, I would have been well annoyed. Honestly, I would have been very annoyed because we always play with the principle. When you're defending, you always play with the principle. It doesn't matter what the tactics are, but it made it worse that the tactics were play narrow, concede space out wide. You always play when you definitely play those tactics, which is nice and compact. And normally you have the defence in the midfield, and there's not much space between the lines, and so on and so on. But whenever you play those tactics, that you always play with the view that if someone comes in the danger zone, you press hard, and you're trying to protect ultimately the goal. And it was that basic principle. Was like, we're not going to protect the goal. Like we're not going to protect the goal. Like so, it's almost like playground Sunday League amateur level stuff. That he just walked inside and did that, and that
it was a poor goal to concede. It really was a poor goal to concede.
I'm thinking we've had all pre-season.
Yeah. This is my point. What was he doing for the past 5 weeks? Knowing you've got City first game of the season, knowing how City play, it was almost like he got the night before and got this team out and got them on the pitch. I know it sounds a bit harsh, but you're looking at it thinking, you're at home, it's a statement game to say to the fans, I'm the new manager, get your players on side on the right side of the fans, and it was just a no-show. And it was like City didn't even play their best players. They had De Bruyne on the bench, Sane on the bench, and City thought they can come to Arsenal and play their lesser known players, still decent players, Bernardo Silva and such.
Not play their strongest
lineup, and actually not even have to really
get
sweat
out
for it either.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, that was the biggest disappointment.
Yeah, and that it was. I think there's a lot. Interestingly, next week, obviously, next game's Chelsea. Again, I'm more disappointed because players' attitude, manager's attitude, body language. I saw body language that I didn't like from both player and manager. I saw this kind of we're a bit lost. It was almost like towards the end of Wenger's era, both last season and the season before, where players were just like, "Oh, we're lost. We've given up."
Yeah.
And that I saw it on game one.
Yeah.
I saw that kind of you know, body language that sort of saying players are like giving up, like, and it's like shit. They've given up on day one. They've given up they haven't even waited within an hour. They've given up. Not against City. It was like they're just giving up generally. You know, like, it wasn't because they weren't losing 5-0 to be fair. They were in the game. They were in the game. You know, but it was like they'd given up. So I'm worried by that. I'm seeing this sort of give up. So look, against Chelsea, they're going to have to up their game, and I personally think we're going to see a repeat of what we saw against City, and I expect Chelsea to roll them over. If I'm honest, if they come with the same tactics, if they come and they don't change, if he tries to play the same players in the same shape, which he will, I guarantee you he will. He will. I promise you he'll play Ramsey, Mkhitaryan and Ozil, unless one of them are injured. I promise, and he'll play Aubameyang up front against Chelsea. I'll be like, this is I'm going to give you 10 games and you're going to get sacked because you're not going to get results. You're going to get beat because that team lineup against anyone, not just against Chelsea, Liverpool, any of these teams. I think you're going to get troubled by a lot of teams because, like last season at Arsenal, we were getting troubled by many teams because defensively we weren't very good. So when we get the ball, if we don't outscore the opposition, we're going to lose because defensively we're poor. And every team's getting at us because we're too weak. We concede too easily.
Yeah.
Like we just concede chances too easily. Not even goals, just chances. The way we're set up, you know. So I'm expecting Chelsea. If I'm honest, if Arsenal put out that team, I expect Chelsea to win, easy winners. And I meant they might be a bit more ruthless than City were because City actually didn't create many chances. On paper, we actually, I think, might have had as many chances as City.
Yeah, there wasn't that their best. That's the point. I think that's the biggest disappointment from, again, from my neutral perspective, is that City weren't even at their best, and they seemed to win quite comfortably, and they didn't really. It felt like a bit of a friendly, to be honest, like a Charity Shield.
Charity Shield, yeah.
And the intensity from Arsenal at home was just not there, and I really thought Arsenal were going to come out with this newfound conviction. I thought they were going to go out and just
a bit of more attitude about them,
leave a little bit on City, let them know that they're really in a match, and City got a great result against them last year. That game when they scored those goals in that quick succession, and I thought Arsenal would be like, no one's coming to our house and going to just sit on our couch and watch TV whilst we're in the kitchen kind of thing, cooking for them, and it was almost like that. It was like that kind of acceptance where here, come. Yeah, it's okay. You can have the ball, and it's all right. You're too good for us, and we'll wait till next week to try and get a result. That's what it felt like. So disappointing.
Well, we'll see. Weekend games coming up. We probably chewed the cud on Arsenal longer than necessary, and probably Liverpool. But hopefully, there's some points. Maybe there's some similar points that some other people thought were interesting, or they thought the same. But yeah, we'll see what happens in game number 2.
Yeah, bring it on.
Thanks for chatting, Edge, and we'll look forward to episode number 3.
Peace out.
All right, peace. Oh, wrong button.
Good job. 49 minutes.
That's all right.
What was that, show number 4 now, this?
Fucking hell. That's what I'm doing here.